Good afternoon, Suidlanders, and welcome to Suidlanders, the Week in Review for the week of Friday, today, Friday the 25th of October 2024. For our first item, we have to retrace our steps slightly. On Wednesday, the 16th of October, an Iranian general claimed in response to a question in an interview that Iran possesses a weapon more powerful than nuclear bombs, and everyone, including Suidlanders, dismissed it as what is known as Oriental exaggeration, the propensity of people in the Middle East and Far East to make very grandiose statements to which there's little substance. However, it has since emerged that apparently Russia has given Iran a number of ODAB 9000 bombs, and allegedly the ODAB possesses some or other unknown Wunderwaffen property. In other words, the best analysts in the West have reason to believe that the bomb is highly unusual and exceptional, but nobody knows in what way. The other possibility is that Russia may have given Iran avant-garde hypersonic missiles, about which, once again, almost nothing is known except that they travel 30,000 kilometers an hour. On Friday, the 18th of October, we learned of the then unconfirmed and hence uncovered in last week's Week in Review, but now confirmed, killing of the head of military operations of Gaza's Hamas militia, a man by the name of Yahya Sinwar. However, that event doesn't appear to have had the desired effect of cutting off the head of the snake. As one commentator put it, in Greek mythology there is a creature called a hydra with many heads, and if you cut off one, then two grow in its place, and it appears as if Sinwar's assassination is eliciting just such a response in the Arab world, as Arabs and Muslims generally are shrieking more loudly than ever for vengeance and for participation and for action and solidarity. That, friends, does not bode well for the coming weeks and months. On Saturday, the 19th of October, in a debate on the Duran, one of the world's foremost experts, John Helmond, revealed that, as Suidlanders has reported to you previously, there have indeed been at least two nuclear/dirty bomb events in the Ukraine war. One appears to have been nuclear ammunition, miniature nuclear bombs, or a miniature nuclear bomb, given the size of the recorded explosion and the blast radius visible by satellite, and the other is uncertain. On Sunday, the 20th of October, social media was flooded with videos of United States THAAD air defense batteries being delivered from the USA in Israel. They have been sent urgently and at short notice to shore up Israel's failing air defenses. We know that they are failing because Israeli airspace is the most heavily defended in the world, yet various detective work has revealed that just on the 1st of October, Iran scored at least 32 hits on just one airfield in Israel, namely the Nevatim airfield. Worse, it turns out that in fact THAAD batteries have been employed covertly on at least two sites in Israel for a year or longer, including at Nevatim airfield, where not only did they fail alongside Israel's various other air defense systems, but one of them appears to have been struck, failing to defend even itself. The gist of that story is that the delivery of those THAAD systems really amounts to, in spite of all of the hullabaloo, much ado about nothing. Also on Sunday the 20th of October, the holiday home of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the north of Israel was struck by a drone from Hezbollah out of South Lebanon in apparent retaliation for the assassination of Yahya Sinwar 2 days prior. It was reported by the Israeli government that Benjamin Netanyahu was not at home at the time. However, it has since come out in the senior ranks of the global intelligence community that, in fact, he was at home. The drone struck a window, anticipating that the window would break and the drone would pass through with its momentum and do harm in that room. But the window was very heavily armored by the sounds of things. Next, you may recall me talking about the unsustainable debt burden of the USA. Just the federal debt of roughly $36 trillion. You may recall me explaining that the US federal government receives roughly $4.4 trillion in receipts per annum, that's income taxes, but that the yearly budget is $6.1 trillion, meaning a 38% yearly incurrence of $1.7 trillion. So a 38% shortfall that can only be covered by incurring further debt, taking loans. You may also recall us describing to you that the USA had recently begun raising debt to the tune of $1 trillion every 100 days. You may even recall hearing about how the USA was struggling to get other countries to lend it money by selling them sovereign bonds, and how the USA recently forced, under very great pressure, Japan to buy bonds that it didn't want to buy, and how China has been dumping hundreds of billions of bonds, all because the world is losing faith in the US dollar and US debt. Well, now, let it suffice for me to make the point of this chapter of this week's Week in Review with the following short sentence. It came to light early in this past week that the US federal government is now borrowing money at the rate of $1 trillion every 42 days. On Sunday, the 20th of October, 2 US secret intelligence documents relating US knowledge of an enormous forthcoming Israeli attack on Iran were leaked to a Telegram channel in a massively embarrassing event from the USA's point of view and a severe compromise of Israel's ability to act against Iran with any degree of surprise. On Monday, the 21st of October, just a few days before the start of the BRICS summit meeting 2024, India and China arrived at a sort of agreement to peacefully disagree over their decades-long border dispute. Next, on an unknown day, presumably during the course of this past week, the Zambezi River ran so dry that the Victoria Falls stopped running altogether, with enormous hydroelectric and agricultural/famine implications for the region. Again, watch this space. On Tuesday, the 22nd of October, the 16th BRICS annual summit meeting opened in Kazan, Russia, and ended yesterday. The biggest developments by far were the revelations that BRICS had developed a financial messaging system to get around its banning from SWIFT, or Russia's banning from SWIFT. It's called BRICS Bridge, central bank digital currency, the world's first, a clearinghouse to rival what is known as Euroclear, BRICS insurance and reinsurance entities, a BRICS contingency reserve to shut the International Monetary Fund out of the picture, and a further long list of huge technical innovations in the world of commerce, industry, economics, finance. And last but not least, later on today, Donald Trump is going to appear on the famous Joe Rogan podcast. And it is going to be the biggest podcast in history and earn Spotify tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars. The whole world is on the edge of its seat for that event. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to this week's Week in Review. We trust that you enjoyed it. If there were noises in the background, I hope that you were able to shut them out of your ears and that you weren't distracted. As you know, my internet was cut off and the local suppliers cannot replace it because of the slightly odd location of the farmstead that I occupy, and I must have reliable, dependable, stable internet for the big international interviews that I do for Suidlanders. Therefore, once again, I am at the gorgeous Victoria Boutique Hotel in Hofmeyer, one of the prettiest hotels I've ever visited in my many years of traveling for work and being exposed to some magnificent hotels. It really is quite gorgeous. And we look forward to perhaps doing this week in review here again next week if we haven't sorted out the internet. But hopefully by then we'll be on satellite. Anyway, goodbye and God bless.